Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is NurulHana binti Hady and I will present to you about Gerlach and Ely's instructional design model. So let's start. So what is Gerlach and Ely's instructional design model? So basically this model is the basic idea of teaching in terms of instructional design. So teachers usually use this kind of model in teaching and learning process, and is being used widely among K-12 students, which is kindergarten to 12th grade students, and also higher educational students, which is in tertiary level students. So this kind of model actually emphasizes two factors in learning, which is the first one is defining the teaching goals, or as you can say objective, or learning a subject or a content, and the second one is methods of reaching desired outcomes, or you can say it as results. So basically this kind of model prioritize the objective and the results of learning a content or a subject. So who invented such models? So obviously it is Vernon S. Gerlach and Donald P. Ely. So based on the slide, you can see that both of them are very experienced in educational field, that even in 1971, they come out with a book entitled Teaching and the Media, a Systematic Approach, which in the book itself, they introduced the Gerlach and Ely's instructional design model. So these are basically the 10 elements in Gerlach and Ely's instructional design model. So as you can see, there are some of the elements that is being put together in a group because these elements actually coexist or related to one another. So in teaching, when you want to introduce your students to a new content, you will need to go through this process in this kind of design model. So the first process will be specification of content and specification of objective. After you've done that, you will go to the next step, which is assessment of entering behavior. Now when you're done with that, you will go to the next element, which is determination of strategy, organization of groups, allocation of time, allocation of space, selection of resources. After that, you will go to the evaluation of performance and analysis of feedback. When you're done with all of this process and you want to start over with a new content, you will need to go back to assessment of entering behavior. Now, what does all of these elements means? So I will explain to you in the next slide. It starts with the first two elements, which is specification of content and specification of objective. Now, these two elements exist together because it is very much related. In this part, the teacher gets to decide for the students on what to learn and why must it be learned. The teacher also needs to bear in mind the fact that they need to deliver the content that is very suitable and only suitable to the student's specification. For example, if the students attend your class for English grammar, then all you need to do is provide the knowledge and information about English grammar. You cannot mix it with any science or math related subjects. Okay, so that's the first two elements. Moving on to the next one is assessment of entering behaviors. So assessment of entering behavior is the part where, as a teacher, you get to assess your students' previous skills and knowledge about the content that you're going to deliver. For example, if you want to teach them about English grammar, in this part you will get to know how much do your students know about English grammar. Do they even know about English grammar? What do they know about English grammar? So this is the part where you ask them all of these questions. Okay, after that, you move on to the next step, which is determination of strategy. Now, after knowing the objective, the content, and how much your students know about the content that you're going to deliver, you need to determine the best way or the best teaching strategy or approach for them. Okay, there are two types of teaching strategy or approach, which is traditional expository approach and inquiry method. Okay, traditional expository approach is a type of approach where the teacher provide everything to the students. So all the students need to do is just grasp the information and comprehend it. different from inquiry method, where inquiry method makes the teacher act as a facilitator. So the teachers will only need to tell the students on what to do and how to do it, and the students are the ones that need to gather the information and comprehend it by themselves. Okay, so after knowing all of the content, the objective, and how much the students know, the teacher need to choose the very suitable way of teaching in order for the students to be able to understand the content that they are going to deliver. After sharing the content using the appropriate teaching strategy or approach, you will get to assess your students with a task. Now, this is where the next element comes in, which is organization of groups. Now, when you want to give your students a task, you need to bear in mind that it must not went astray from the objective of why you want them to learn such content. So you can assign your students to work individually, work in a small group or in a large group, work in alternative form. So what is alternative form? Alternative form is basically what we are all doing right now, which is having an online platform to learn. So that is organization of groups. So after knowing in what type of group that you want your students to complete their task in, you will get to allocate the appropriate time for them to complete the task. Now, time allocation depends a lot on the teaching strategy and the style of instruction that you've given your students to complete this task. Okay, so that is the allocation of time. And after considering the allocation of time, you need to consider the allocation of space, meaning that if you provide your students a task where they need to work in a small group and the time is only 20 minutes, you need to allocate the perfect space. For example, like an online platform like WhatsApp, for them to actually discuss and actually do the task appropriately. Now that is space. It can be online platform, or if you're doing it in class, you can let your students to have their own space, like sitting in a group and discuss the task. Now that is allocation of space. Okay, after that, you need to consider the selection of resources. When you ask your students to complete a task, you need to know that your students will gather other resources to complete the task. So it can be existing resources or develop new ones. So existing resources can be the information or the knowledge that they can gather from the internet, from books, or from journals. Now those are the existing ones. Develop new ones maybe are the ones that they create themselves, are the ones that comes out from their own ideas. Okay, so those are develop new ones. Now that is selection of sources. Okay, after you've done you let them done the task and all that, then you will get to evaluate the performance of your students, which is by then, when they have completed the task, you will get to hear their reaction, their answers and all that. By then, you can get to know the effectiveness of the teaching strategy that you've chosen to deliver the content itself. And you can measure the students' performance by listening to their reaction and knowing whether they can actually comprehend the content that you've delivered for the day. So that is basically evaluation of performance. You get to evaluate your students' performance based on the content that you have given. Okay, after that comes the last step, which is analysis of feedback. Now, after doing all of the activity for the day, comes the next class where you're going to introduce them with a new content. But before that, you will get to do a recap or a review or a revision about the content that you have taught them. This is to show that whether your students have actually comprehend or understand what you have taught them before. So by following all of these elements or steps in Gerlach and Ely's instructional design model, you will get to see how you have implemented the objective of delivering the content and what is the result of delivering the content. So that is basically what all of these 10 elements of Gerlach and Ely's instructional design model is all about. There are a few examples of LMS or learning management system that are using Gerlach and Ely's instructional design model. For example, the first one is open learning. So open learning is basically an application where the teachers get to decide or design the structure of content that they want the students to learn. So they can design the ways for them to deliver the content and assess their students' skills by giving them the appropriate task and time and also space for the students to complete the task. So that is open learning. The next example is UFuture UITM. So in UFuture UITM, you can see that the lecturers are allowed to design their own learning content for the students. For example, you can see that there are certain sections about the assessment that the students need to complete, and then there are parts about the information about the course that the students need to know, and there are also allocated time and space for the students to actually complete their task. So that is UFuture UITM. The last example would be Google Classroom. If you are a keen user of Google Classroom, you will be able to recognize that the lecturers are the ones that design the specific content that they want the students to go through. For example, there are contents where they share about the information that they know about the certain course, and there are contents about the assessment that the students need to do, and there are also time allocated for the students to be able to do the task and also space for them to actually perform the task. So Google Classroom is actually one of the LMS that is using this type of model. These are the references that I've been using to actually get to know about Gerlach and Ely's instructional design model. So you can access to any one of these links for you to understand more about this model. So that is all from me. Thank you for lending your eyes and ears, and have a great day.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Afidatul Aqma binti Sabre. My student number is 2019359367. So today I'm going to present about the responsive website design. Okay, what is the responsive website design? Responsive website design is a web design approach that allows website to render or display on all devices and on all screen size by automatically adapting the screen size whether it is on desktop, laptop, tablet or smartphone. As the user switches from their laptop to tablet, the website should automatically switch to accommodate for the resolutions, image size, and the scripting details. For example, when you open a smashing magazine, right here, it will look like this. And when you switch it on your smartphone screen, it will look like this. It will not change the design, the layout, or the text of the website, because it is adapting the screen size. It is adapting the screen size from the laptop to the smartphones. As I mentioned earlier, responsive web design is when the website design approach that allows you to render or display on all screen size, whether it is smartphone, tablet, desktop or your tablet. So this website design approach actually will make your website looks good in any device's screen, whether you use it on your smartphone, you use it on your desktop, laptop, and also tablet. And responsive web design also, you can break it in so many of the breakpoint, whether you want to use it on the screen which is smaller or you want to use it on the bigger screen. It can it can adjusting to the screen size. With the use of responsive web design, you don't have to zoom, or you don't have to scroll on the website to see the content of the website. It will just adapt to the screen of devices that you use, whether you use it on the laptop or you use it on the desktop, or also you use it on your smartphone. It can just adapting, or it just respond to the screen size of the devices. Okay, so it is actually great for web designer to have this skill, or to use this responsive website design to design their website, so that when you are on the other devices, you can just see the context of the website just like as good as you see the website screen on your desktop or your laptop into your smartphone. So this responsive web design really help in making your website look fluid and also flexible in any device's screen. Okay, so if you can see, previously when people design the website, they did not know how to do the responsive web design. So when you look at the content of the website on your desktop screen, it will look bigger and it will look good. But if you try to look at on your smartphone, you will figure that you will see that the website looks it's very hard to read. Whether you have to scroll or whether you have to zoom, it is not as flexible as you use responsive web design. So with the help of responsive web design, it will make the website look very good, as good in all devices, in all the devices screen size, or you can even do this. You can even do many of breakpoint of the screen size. Basic history: when the day smartphone came out, what actually happened that it will just compress all the whole website that was designed for the big horizontal screen to the screen of smartphone, to the screen of mobile phone, which caused the certain part of the website look horrible, which you have to zoom in, you have to scroll, and it is hard to read. This responsive website design help you in making your website look nice, look great, although on any screen devices, which is laptop, smartphone, desktop, and also your tablet. How does the responsive web design work? Responsive web design works through the cascading style sheet (CSS) using various offsetting to serve different style properties depending on the screen size, the orientation, resolutions, color capability, and the other characteristics by the user's device. Which is mean when the screen have the certain size, it will change the parameter like the color, size of screen, orientations depending on the size of layout of the screen, either it is portrait or landscape. So what is the features of the responsive website design? The feature of the responsive website design is the media queries. The media queries allow the developer to use the condition check to alter the web design based on the properties of the user's device. This is superior to simply defining breakpoint in the HTML or CSS, as it is more tailored experience for the user. The second feature is the fluid grid. Fluid grid enables designers to maintain a consistent look and feel across the multiple devices. When flexible grids are created using the CSS, the column automatically rearrange themselves to fit the size of the screen or browser window, whether it is on the laptop, desktop, smartphone, or your tablet. The last features for the responsive website design is the flexible visual. Flexible container resize itself, which this functionality allows team to create timeless design capable of adapting of any device regardless of its size and shape. Okay, so what is the importance of the responsive website design to the web designer and also the business owner? Okay, the importance is one site for every device. The website will be configured for the user optimum viewing pleasure. For example, when you look at the website on your desktop screen, the quality is great and it looks nice. And when you switch it on your smartphone screen, it still looks the same. The quality is as great as you look at on the device screen, on your desktop screen. Next is optimal design for the devices. With the responsive web design approach, all images, font, and the other HTML elements will be scaled appropriately, maximizing whatever screen size the user has. Okay, the last one is no need for redirect. The other option toward designing for multiple devices require the use of redirect to send the user to the appropriate version of the web page. Without the need for redirect, the user can actually access the content he wants to look at it as quickly as possible. Responsive versus adaptive. Many people out there are confused between these two terms. Yes, it looks similar, but it is not. Okay. Responsive website design is the element of the screen actually respond to the size of the screen. The size of design, layout, text change relatively to the size of the screen. However, in adaptive, when you are in a different device or screen size, the website shows completely different, such as the different layout, and also the layout will just change completely. It is not as flexible and as fluid as the responsive web design. These are the example of the responsive website design other than the smashing magazine that I have mentioned earlier. The example are the Dropbox, Dribble, Client Boost, and also Magic Leap. So, as for the example of the Dropbox, you can see that on the smartphone, it will look like this. It looks as good as you look on the device on your laptop or desktop screen. It will just look like this, and you can just put it like this. So you don't have to pinch, or you don't have to scroll on the left or on the right to see the content of the website. So actually, Dropbox is using the responsive website design to design their website. Same goes to the example of Dribble.com. Okay, if you can see that the website is more fluid, you don't have, it's the same as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to pinch, you don't have to scroll to look at the content of the website. You just have to scroll down to see the content of the website, because it's more vertical as compared to your laptop device's screen. You will see it on landscape, so you just have to scroll right or left, but this one you have to scroll down to see the content of it. But it is fluid, and it's look good on the screen. You don't have to pinch, you don't have to zoom in, zoom out, and it is also easily to read the content of the website. So we move on to the example of the client booth. As you can see here, in the client booth, it also looks good on the smartphone screen. The website looks good, it's easy to read, and you don't have to scroll right or left, and you can just read all the content using your smartphone. And it's also actually a good design. If you can see on your desktop screen, it will look totally like this. It will look totally like this, but it's on the biggest it's on the biggest screen. But in smartphone design, it adapting the screen, and it looks like this. It just respond to the screen so that it looks as compact as this. So it's not change any layout of the screen, it's just adapting on the screen. Another great example will be the Magic Leap. The Magic Leap, if you can see, it does a really great job on his website. because you can totally see that the structure, the layout, and also the content of the website, it looks very colorful, and it attracts the customer or the client or the reader to look at the website. And it is also looks very good actually on your smartphone devices. And you can see that on the laptop screen, that the design, the layout of the website is totally the same. But if you adapting or adjusting to this smartphone screen, it looks as good as the design on the laptop screen. So you just have to click on the content that you want to read, and then you just read all the content of the website. So it is actually more flexible and more fluid than any web design, or we can see that adaptive web design as compared as adaptive web design, it is more fluid and flexible compared to that, because on adaptive web design you have to it just like compress the website into the smaller screen. So when it compresses the screen size to the smaller screen, you will have to scroll left and scroll right, and also to read the content you have to zoom in or zoom out, because it does not design for the break point to the screen, to the smaller screen size. It just compress the website so that you can read the website, but then you have to scroll. So responsive website design is really help reader to read the content of the website, and it is also a very good design approach that help the website looks good, and the reader will read at it without having any problem or having difficulties. So that is all from me.